Hey guys, Phobia again. Today, what I'm bringing y'all is a 2v2 composition guide, or tier list, I should say, more based on what I think is going to be really good, uh, starting the beginning of season one, and then obviously as time progresses or later seasons, I'll update this. But with all the people I've played with, all the practice during pre-patch and beta and all that, I want to go ahead and give some of my advice on what you guys should run. So we're gonna go ahead and just hop right into this. So we can go what I think's good. Let's go ahead and start with tanks. Just get them out of the way. These are gonna be the tanks you don't want to play with, right? They know that there were some nerfs coming in that we just got, but just nerfs you should tanks you should never play with in general are gonna be things like the Brewmaster, the Blood DK. Like they're not gonna bring anything to the table. Um, a tank you could play with obviously is Bear Tank and Prop Pally. If you were to play with them, I feel like it'd be insane. Actually, after the nerfs, let's just go ahead and put these down right here. A, you could play with them. I hate playing with tanks. You guys know this, but if you were, I feel like Prop Pally and Bear Tank could be really good to play with in twos. Sustainability on both sides. You do a lot of damage as Shadow Priest. You can just outlive and kill people. Um, they just got a nerf to Prop Warrior, and I haven't personally played with, and playing against them never felt overwhelming. So I would say it's a never play, just because there's no self sustain for you outside of them, and all their peels are your peels. So I would say that's another one you're never going to play with. I think it's all tanks, right? I might have missed one if I. Yeah, Vengeance. Where's Vengeance Demon Hunter? Did I miss that? That's somewhere on here. Is it? There it is. Never play. All right. Now, now that we got that out of the way, tanks, bougie, get them out. We're gonna go ahead and start with my S tier comps that I think you guys should run in 2v2 in the start of season one. All right, as a Shadow Priest. So it's gonna be probably no surprise that both Demo and Aphilock are gonna be S tier with Shadow Priest, even after the nerfs. They were already super overtuned. They had a bug with their Soul Link wall, but their damage is already overtuned as it is, and they can still survive a crap ton even after the nerfs. Putting that compared with a Shadow Priest, where the nerfs that we just got are 20% healing reduction from our Vampiric Touch and our Devouring Plague. We hardly heal off of our dot ticks as it is. They tick for like 4K, 50% of that 2K, MS on top of that, 1.1 it wasn't really healing us. Yes, spreading it around was good for PvE reasons and or fighting unholy DKs. And Demolocks did give us a way to heal a little bit more out of that. But generally, what we heal from is spreading our dots and then popping Vampiric Embrace and then using our procs to heal. That's generally how we heal as a Shadow Priest. Anyway, so we didn't take any real nerfs, so we love that. So this comp with all the spread pressure, the dispels with UA, the spell protection with UA, sorry, the MS from demo locks, the pure amount of just no casting really on both sides to just do consistent pressure, and then when you guys both are able to cast, people just die and rot. So that's gonna be an insane one, I think, for sure. Feral Druid, Shadow Priest, I think is S tier as well. You have the instant roots, you have the instant off heals from the Feral Druid. You have they can play a bleed spread spec. You can play the AoE spec that I've currently been playing on my guides. Um, Spread pressure everybody, hit everybody, and then when you're ready to CC, you CC. Most of the time when you're CCing somebody in Feral Shadow Priest, that CC target is like 50% HP already because of all the spread pressure. So you can literally swap around, hit whoever, run away, reset. This has a lot of longevity inside of Arena, and with dampening going so high, yes, our off heals are affected, but so is the pressure for the healer to be able to out heal us, right? So with how much pressure we can do so fast, and it's all spread pressure, it's very hard for heal to recover in dampening, while we don't have to worry about taking as much damage, so we don't have to recover as much. So Feral Shadow Priest feels insane. I love it. I think you guys should definitely try it out. Mage. So Arcane Mage is the only mage I would say that is going to be super, super good in twos with Shadow Priest. You can play Frost and Fire, and I'll go over that. But I will say for S tier, Arcane Mage, Shadow Priest melts faces, like destroys people. Like whoever's free casting is killing somebody. So you can't. There's not a right target here. You go Shadow Priest, Arcane Mage melts you. You go Arcane Mage, Shadow Priest CCs and melts you. Like I've had a lot of fun with this recently, and I'm very excited to play it. You're going to see a lot of different, maybe 3 or 4 different comps I'll be playing on stream. And Arcane Mage will definitely be one of them. You have Poly CC, Stun silence, fears. You have mind controls. You have AoE from both sides. It just feels nice. I think you guys will definitely enjoy playing that one. Subtlety Rogue got nerfed, but I still think the control version of it could be S tier, maybe A tier after the nerfs, because their healing got nerfed. You know what? Yeah, I'm gonna put that A tier. I'm not actually gonna put that S tier. I'm gonna put Subtlety A tier now, just because their damage got nerfed and their healing got nerfed. So you will have to off heal more, which means you go faster. So I'm gonna put that actually A tier for this one. So yeah, that's gonna round out our S tier. Now we're on A tier. All right, so starting A tier, Subtlety Rogue, spread stuns, decent burst on from the Subtlety Rogue, can lock people down. You have the smoke bomb for the all in on the second or third go. Um, Resets from the Subtlety Rogue with double vanishes. You can run disarm. You have a lot of way to survive in Priest Rogue. So I definitely think it's an A tier now. It can go a long way. You can get a lot of easy wins early on, getting to like 1800, 2K, and then kind of like perfect your strategies from there. So I think it's a very good comp for beginners as well, who are trying to just get points. But at the high end level with high players, it can pretty much skyrocket, I think. So we're going to go with Subtlety Rogue as our first A tier. Without also being, I'm going to have to put Assassination A tier. Just because of the damage. It's a lot like a Pharaoh Druid, right? It can do spread pressure. Its single target pressure is insane. You get a full CC go, everyone has to trinket. And when you play the Shadow Priest, when you trinket, you're going to get silenced. Well, then you still have blinds and fears and mind controls, and you have whatever. You have so much to follow up on with the instant pressure of an Assassination Rogue. The only thing that's going to hinder Assassination Rogue in twos especially is people are re-rolling Dark Iron Dwarf. So you have to force Dark Iron Dwarf or Trinket first because they share a cooldown, 30 seconds. So essentially, if you can get your go and get a Trinket, they can't use Dark Iron. So you want to have to do your go as fast as possible to force the Trinket so they can't Dark Iron the go, and then you can do a secondary burst in a minute. So outside of that, it pretty much melts everybody. You can go healers with this build. Assassination Rogue Shadow Priest is generally a really good heal killer. So just train the healer, you should win. Train squishy targets, you should win. So I think it's gonna be a great A tier right there. Another one that I'm putting on A tier just because I love playing it and it's one of my favorite twos comps is Rhett Shadow Priest, and it's the reason why it's an A tier is they're both tanky, but we have Rhett instant heals. Rhett can play a fully defensive spec to live long enough for the Shadow Priest to global. And if they go Shadow Priest, Rhett has an insane amount of pills with sack, freedom, bops. You can even run. I wouldn't recommend running blinding. I don't think they wait. Can they run blind light now? Yeah, they can because they can do their blinding light one shot. So I wouldn't recommend it. But if you needed, like, say you're fighting double DPS and you just want to tunnel one person, you can even run blinding light. So all I'm saying is there's a lot of CC, a lot of control, a lot of off heals, and a lot of burst when it's up. Like when the burst is up, people are getting destroyed. And it just lives a lot longer than other comps do. For some reason, this comp just seems unkillable when both players are playing very well and spread apart with grips and freedoms and eye for an eye and all that stuff. So I love this comp. I ran it a lot in Shadowlands and in BFA. It's always going to be in my heart. So I love the comp, but I'm going to have to put it at A for now. Another A tier that I think is going to do well is going to be the Evoker. Now, the Evoker one-shot is gone, but now it has consistent pressure. So what does that mean? That means just like a Shadow Priest, we don't have the biggest one-shot, but we have consistent pressure that does a lot of damage all the time. So you put that with an Evoker, you have two all-the-time classes. Evoker has their Shroud, which makes them immune to CC for three effects. And if there's no Dispel on the other team, you can essentially just send out your go and not be able to get stopped in the opener. So you have two free casting with their Disintegrate getting buffed and all that. So, and they can off heal stronger now. They buffed their off healing. So I do feel like this could be a great twos comp. Especially I play a lot with markers on his Preservation Evoker, and he does a lot of damage. So you add more damage, my healing, Devastation Evoker's healing. I feel like that could be a great twos comp as well. Not as much CC, but a lot more just consistent pressure. So A tier right there. And then Frost Mage makes my A tier list. The reason I put Frost on A tier after the buffs and everything is if they go your Frost Mage, Frost can kite forever. and then they can put them into a position behind a pillar, pop their I forgot what it's called, something the frost ability, the AoE stun. That's like I really can't remember the name of it right now. I don't play Frost enough, but it's an AoE ability. It stacks, then it stuns them, and you do a bunch of damage. You guys know what I'm talking about. When they pop that ability, you can essentially set it up, put them behind a pillar, CC the healer, do an all in. Frost Mage can kite. If they go the Shadow Priest, you have CC from the Frost Mage, free casting Frost Mage. They can run a more offensive oriented build in comps. You know, are going to go the Shadow Priest. So just for the fact of the control factor, the original Shatter play, I feel like it's gonna be good in twos. The OG Shatter play. So this could be really a lot of fun. That's gonna round out my A tier. We're gonna go to B tier, and these are some comps that I have played that feel good. I just don't know how good they will be at high level. So I'm just gonna put them in the B tier for now, and then I'll obviously I'll update this as it goes. I just don't know as of right now where they land. So what we're gonna start out with here is Ellie and Enhancement Shaman. Both of them I think are great. Ellie could make A tier. I haven't played it enough in twos with them to know if I feel it's gonna be A tier, but it could be A tier. But we're gonna keep them at B for now, just because they don't survive very well. So you have a lot of instant damage on both sides, from both Enhancement and Ellie. You know, you have Elemental Blast from these Enhancement Shamans, do a lot of damage. They have a lot of instant self sustain. They have the Swelling Waters healing that keeps them alive forever. It seems like they have their walls, and they have good burst, consistent pressure. Ellie side, they don't have to cast. It seems like they just get procs all game, every game, and if essentially you can just, if you live long enough, you're gonna win the game, right? If you can keep your Ellie Shaman alive long enough, you're gonna end up winning the game, which is gonna make Shadow Priest have to play a more defensive oriented build, which I will have a guide on 2v2 builds coming out here after the season starts. After I play a little bit, there's a couple I've been thinking about, but there is a more defensive oriented build you can run. Keep your Ellie Shamans alive, keep yourself alive. Eventually, there's no more healing. Like, there's so many procs from both you and the Ellie Shaman. Healers cannot heal anymore. Once the next proc comes out, there's no recovering. People are just dead. So it feels great. I just don't know if I want to put it A tier just yet, but it could be an A tier comp. Next up, because I played with a lot of this comp for about 3 or 4 hours with Rudars like a couple weeks ago. I'm also going to put Boomkin on here. And the reason that is again, same thing as kind of like Ellie Shaman. You have a lot of spread pressure. The CC kind of all DRs each other. But what you're essentially doing here is doing all-in goes, right? Root Beam into a stun, into a fear, into a silence, into a root, the Shadow Priest root, right? And just keep them in place and just kill healers. Like, you can just train healers all the time in this comp. You just open up with the CC on the DPS, go healer. Next go, hit the DPS, Okay, CC, all in again on the healer. And it forces healers trinkets instantly. And if they trinket, they go straight into a silence, into a Psyfiend, into a Mind Games, and they just die. So this can be an extremely, really strong comp. I feel like it's going to stay B tier just because there's the CC at high level is not there. And people will eventually run either Shadow Priest down or the Boomkin down, which it doesn't allow them to cast. But I feel like it's at least 2100 quick viable. So Boomkin, I feel like it's a good one. But we're going to keep that at the B tier for now. The next one I'm going to run up here is going to go ahead and be Fire and Destro. We're going to put both of them up here because they both feel like the same type of gameplay at the moment. Destro doesn't get enough cast out during the game to survive long enough. They end up getting trained and getting killed. Well, guess what? So the same thing as Fire Mage. You can't dispel combustion anymore. That is something they just updated yesterday. You can't put out combustion. You can't dispel it anymore, but that doesn't really matter. Their pressure just isn't the same, right? Like, it feel like they have to cast all the time to do damage now, not just combustion waves. Same thing with Destro. They're both in the same thing. I will say, just because it is a mage, that's why I'm putting him on B tier. You still have the control. You can still live decently long. But that's why Fire Mage is here, and that's why Destro is here. It's just they just don't have the pressure, it feels like, the entire time to be at the higher rating, so we're keeping them at B tier. Another good one I'm going to put on the B tier is going to be Unholy DK. Unholy DK has, even if the nurse is very tanky and can put people together, so essentially you can just put people together, throw out all your AoE damage, spread out your diseases. You can play disease build if you wish, and then the shadow priest just plays AoE build, proc build, and throw out your mind bender, and you just cleave everybody. Everyone's popping cooldowns. You line of sight for 1 or 2 goes, come back in, do it again. Unholy DK feels very strong in that regard, but the downside to this comp is they're healing, right? Eventually, if there's a warrior on a DK, he's gonna end up going down, right? If there's a rogue on a DK, he's gonna end up going down, right? Burst him, make him pop icebound, reset, go back in, disarm him. He can't do the DK can't do anything. He ends up dying. So there isn't longevity. There's really shortgevity in this comp. So if you can't kill in the first window or two, you're gonna end up losing. But you can probably win most of your games in the first couple of goes in like the 1800 to 2K bracket. So that's why it's in the B tier. And if you haven't noticed, my trends are kind of based on brackets, right? B is like 18 to 2K, not that good, not that bad. A is going to be 2100 plus viable, and S tier is like you can get top of the bracket with that. And that's how I'm kind of listing these, is what I think your rating will end up being around with these comps. So if that's your rating, this is kind of what you can use this as like a guideline for that. So that's what how I do my tier lists. The only other thing I would say that could be in B tier is going to be the Demon Hunter. I know Demon Hunter is insane in threes. It has insane healing. It has insane damage, but it doesn't have peels enough that don't DR with the Shadow Priest, and it can't sustain a Shadow Priest. So someone's going to end up dying. That's why it's in the B tier. They also extremely just nerfed DH survivability and their essence break damage. So like their healing is 50% less now, and their damage is like 16% less, because they did like an 8% nerf and like another 8% or 10% nerf in PvP. So they had nerfed twice on essence break. They got nerfed on their healing. They got nerfed on their hunt healing, and like I said, and their fodder and flame healing. Right. So they got nerfed on both their healing. So they're not as sustainable, anyways. So you have to be able to kill in that first go or two, or you're gonna end up losing. And then the rest, other than Survival Hunter and Windwalker, I could put on B tier too. So the reason I'm going to put Survival Hunter and Windwalker in B tier is Survival Hunter has so much consistent pressure and peels that you can just reset all game and end up killing somebody. The downside to this is Survival Hunter has no survivability on its own. They just die. They don't really have heals. If they get hit with many bandaged, it stops. If they have any MS on them, their auxiliary won't do anything. But you can theoretically just play a hit and run style, kind of like a mage rogue type gameplay as a hunter shadow priest, but it's only going to go so far. Windwalker doesn't have enough longevity to stay in to live, and if he runs away and ports, then they go to Shadow Priest, and the Shadow Priest has to heal. Well, while the Shadow Priest has to heal and run away, so does the Windwalker's already running away and healing, so your pressure is now gone because no one's doing anything. You're both resetting and healing. Eventually, you're going to run out of mana. The Windwalker's going to have to stay in to help you stay alive, and then he's going to end up getting cleaved, and you're going to end up dying. But you can do insane one-shots with this comp. Probably get easy 2K out of it, 1800 2K out of it. But again, these two classes don't end up living long, and that's mainly what the B tier is. Classes that don't live long enough to survive. So that's why I'm gonna put it in B tier. Now the rest of the classes here, right? Frosty K, BM Hunter, MM Hunter, Outlaw Rogue, Arms Warrior, and Fury Warrior are all gonna be C tier. Even though these classes are insane individually, in twos, there's no way to keep you alive, right? A warrior can intervene you and disarm and fear, but then you have no fear. He can stun, but then you have no stun, and then that's it. You have nothing left. You have no more peels, and then you're gonna die. So there's no real way to keep you alive here. And then the warrior can only live so long with their self-healing. So, and they got nerfed, right? Fury Warrior got nerfed, their damage, their slaughterhouse stacks got nerfed, so the MS won't stay up long enough after it resets to keep that pressure out. Arms Warrior just doesn't put out enough pressure on its own to do double DPS anyways. Outlaw Rogue doesn't do enough damage in general to play double DPS with a Shadow Priest. They live forever. They have a lot of CC, but their damage just does not feel strong at all. Like, I don't feel pressured by Outlaw at all at the moment. Marksman is a huge one-shotter, but out of that, there's nothing for you as well, right? There's almost no CC that's going to keep you alive that you will have for the healer to do your go. and out of that, they're just hitting damage and you're dead. So, and BM Hunter brings nothing to the table. Frosty K is all setup based. Well, without proper CC coordination, your setup with the Frosty K is negligible as a Shadow Priest. So that's also why they're C tier. Quick overview of them. They're in C tier. I'm not going to go over too much. Essentially, just don't play with them. These should not be classes you want to play with inside of the 2v2 bracket. I've done some very well games with a Fury Warrior with Swimathy, but even I wouldn't recommend doing it, right? Like, I just wouldn't. So this is what it's going to be, our DPS tier list at the moment. Now we're going to go into some healers, okay? Some of the healers I think are going to be really good for Shadow Priest if you decide to play healer Shadow Priest. Obviously, number one is Evoker. Preservation Evoker does so much throughput, but it also can do so much damage. And it has so many outs for the Shadow Priest that you don't have to waste your dispersions. You don't have to waste your trinkets. You can just get souped up and brought away on burst. You can just be rewound. You can just use your fade and roots and run away. And you can pretty much do everything without having to use cooldowns. And you're fine. Like, me and Marcus played so much of this on pre-patch. Me and Marcus played so much of this currently. It's just insane. It's an insane comp. I feel it's a lot of fun since Shadow Priests do a lot of damage now. So I would definitely recommend, if you are going to play with the healer, that you pick up a Preservation Evoker. Now, to be fair, Shadow Priest isn't the best with healers in general, but this season could see more Shadow Priests with healers. And then Resto Shaman. Now, Resto Shaman in general isn't the best healer in threes or at the moment to begin with, but they bring a lot of utility for a Shadow Priest inside of twos with their damage, their offensive purges, their hexes, their Sky Fury totems. You can do a lot of pressure and they do a lot of damage on their own. So you have a lot of pressure with the Resto Shaman that in twos is a lot more viable than threes. And I think it's one of the better healers for a Shadow Priest is a Arshami in twos. That's just my opinion on that. But those are definitely going to be your S tier healers. Your B tier healers, or your A tier healers, sorry, are going to be Ardruid and Holy Pally. Now, the reason I say Ardruid and Holy Pally is Holy Pally can play melee wings, so they never have to cast, and you can just stay alive forever. But they also can run a more offensive build to do damage and help you on that regard. You have freedoms to kite all game. You have sacrifices. You have bops so you can't get kicked. You can do your damage if you want to set it up that way. Then you have Ardruid with the Ardruid. You have CC with roots. You have cyclones. You have stuns. You can both CC targets at the same time, essentially. So you don't have to cross CC, and you can just send it on somebody. An Ardruid is hard to keep up with, so they can just kite if they're being trained. You can grip them. You can MC, so they're hard to kill. You can get a lot of drinks out with this comp with how tanky Shadow Priest currently is. So you can just time your like Vampiric Embrace, for instance, with your go, and then let them drink. So that's why they're on A tier. They just don't bring as much coordinated damage as the other two would, and there's no offensive purge here, so that's why they're on the A tier. I would say Mistweaver would be your B tier, only because they have so much mana. They don't have any mana issues. They have a lot of instant outs for you to keep you alive. Like, they can come in and just disarm. They can come in. They can leg sweep. They can kick. They can cocoon. They can do things to save they can just keep you alive. And then I would honestly put Disc Priest and then Holy Priest. Like, never play with the Holy Priest, in my opinion. Disc Priest you could play with just because of the offensive pressure, but yeah, I wouldn't play with another priest in general. You could. I wouldn't recommend it. And then, yes, I have a Shadow Priest icon here because there is such thing as double Shadow Priest at the moment. You could theoretically play double Shadow Priest as a B or an A tier. I've actually played a lot with some people. Most notably, one of my friends, Dwilk. He's a viewer. I play a lot with him, but I play with a couple other higher end Shadow Priest, and it feels like a fun comp. I would say realistically, it'd probably I want to say A, but we're gonna put it in B, just because I have to see more of a higher level. Like I said, me and my friend Dwolk, we have just destroyed this. I think we played like, I don't even want to know, like 2300, 2400 as double Shadow Priest during the pre-patch. That was a lot of fun, and we haven't played currently in preseason, so it's been a lot of fun. I think it'd be a fun comp to just go pick another Shadow Priest, Void Buddy up, and send some damage. I think you guys have a good time with it. 2 free casting Shadow Priests. It's a lot of fun. But this is my current tier list, guys. It's just, again, it's my opinion. Agree to disagree, beg to differ, however you want to say. This is just my opinion on what's going to be good for Season 1 for 2v2. I will put out my 3v3 guide, bracket, tier list, whatever you guys want to say, in the next couple days before Tuesday. So that way you guys can see what I think is good for Shadow Priest in threes. Yesterday we were doing on stream playing some war games against Pet Kick, Mud, a rogue warrior comp. We fought against Cupid Cleave, Jungle Cleave. We tested a lot of things out with my comp, right? Warrior Priest Pally, Warrior Priest Shaman, the comp that I play, you guys know me for, with my buddies Swimithy and Bubble Buddies, and it feels really good. It feels very strong. After swapping some talents, we get wins here, we get different losses there. So I will say, guys, be prepared to swap your talents up a lot this season. There's a lot of different builds to run that could help you guys win. So I will see you guys next time. Please leave a like and a comment. I'd really, really appreciate it. Commenting leaves an algorithm change for us. It recommends the video more. So please, if you guys can leave a like and even just like a smiley face or a dot or whatever, it does help the algorithm. I do want to put out as much content for you guys as I can. If you guys want to go to the Patreon and check out the Patreon page, I am doing coaching one-on-ones through Patreon starting next week. And also just come by the stream and say hi. Twitch.tv/Aphobia Gaming. Come on by. Just lurk if you want to. We're going to start going for our partner again. So if you just want to come in and lurk and help out, that'd be great too. But I'll see you guys in the next video, and I hope you guys found this useful.